think it's episode 9. So
what's the actual podcast called?
Bad Slave Podcast.
Nice.
Yeah. Very new. I've only had this going since the beginning of January. So people, welcome back to the Bad Slave Podcast. We are now at episode 9. And I've got a very special guest in the house today. Legend. That is Kev The Poet.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for coming on, man, because it's not as easy getting guests as you'd think, you know. So yeah, thank you for coming on.
What has generally been the focus of the podcast?
Good question. I wouldn't say I've been too rigid with my themes and topics. I've just my thing is giving a platform to interesting individuals and people with unique talents, unique stories, you know, so that's more my kind of angle with it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's funny because as far as our conversation today, personally, a lot of it's inspired by revelations of the Epstein files.
Okay.
But on a personal level, it does reflect my own personal journey with mental health, with politics, and with like just social media presence.
Yep.
So yeah, maybe we could go at it from that angle.
Well, you yourself, you've always been a like very similar to myself, you know what I mean? You've always been somebody who I wouldn't even have to say outspoken, but you've always someone who has said it how it is, and you've always, you know what I mean, you've always said your piece, and what you've said has never changed. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, especially in regards to like the lockdown, do you know what I mean? Even though we knew each other from before that, you know, during the lockdown, you was one of the people who was, you know, I thought you actually approached it in quite a level-headed way.
I always try to come with nuance and common sense. And I always try to present both sides of the argument, even when I was incredulous that people were acting like regardless of who was right or who was wrong, the idea that our governments or corporations could never or would never lie to us about something that important was considered ridiculous. And like, what are you, a ridiculous conspiracy theorist thinking they did? And it's like, you've been alive for over 2 decades and watched them lie about wars, etc., etc. Like to just dismiss it is foolish.
Yeah.
To not even consider the possibility that these people could lie to us.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's like part of what gave me fire this week was this revelation that Bill Gates was allegedly asking Epstein for STD pills to hide his dalliances with Russian prostitutes, and intended to give his wife these STD pills without her knowing.
Wow.
Allegedly, according to this is stuff that's come. And in light of that, the people who were, like, I had one friend who was running Linux on his computer because he didn't trust Microsoft not to give his computer viruses. But he was telling me to trust Bill Gates because he's such a lovely man and philanthropist. And that you should trust every word that Bill Gates says because what a lovely guy he is. And I'm like, but you run Linux. You don't even trust him to keep viruses out of your laptop, let alone your body.
Yeah.
And you're
Exactly.
telling me to trust. And by this point, I'd already, like, for like a decade before then, I'd heard about his interest in what's that big word for racism? Eugenics.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was interested in like racial purity and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I already was like, no, I don't know if I like this guy. But yeah, to find out that he was willing to lie to his wife, apparently, about what he's putting in her. What do you think he would lie to the general public for billions of dollars?
Mm, mm. Yeah, it's a weird one, that one. I found a lot of people, when you brought up, would you trust the government? A lot of people would say, well, he's not the government, or the World Health Organization isn't the government.
Well, allow me to add, would you trust the government and or corporations? And that's one of the things I wanted to say. Like, one of the notes I had was, to be honest, I wanted to start with the documents and the documentaries that
Yes.
give some of these views more legitimacy. Documentaries like Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and the one that was just on my mind now, there's a documentary called The Corporation, and
Yes,
it
I know this one.
shows you how every corporation, if you applied psychological, if you assumed it was a human being, it would be a psychopath, because it only has one goal and it doesn't have any empathy. So if a corporation works out that the lawsuits will cost us less money than recalling these cars and stopping these deaths from happening, we're not going to recall these cars. We're going to allow the deaths to happen because it's better for our shareholders, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, the corporation's really good for removing the conceit that corporations will do the right thing.
Yeah.
Because they won't. They will do the profitable thing. And that's why waving protest flags doesn't work. But boycotts do work, because they only care about money. So if you affect their bottom line, then you will affect change. But if you're just stopping traffic and waving flags, it's not going to change anything. Like, unless it's an actual blockade and that traffic is stopping their trade.
Well, we got to look into, like, Stop the Oil and what they're really on. So Stop the Oil is really a platform, a machine to bring in all the electric stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? So to bring in the electric cars, to so Stop the Oil, just like Extinction Rebellion, is the agenda disguised as rebellion. Do you know what I mean? Like pretty much all of these things, really. They're all agendas disguised as rebellion. So what they are is,
unfortunately, it is very rare that the system allows anything to be successful that they haven't already co-opted.
Of course,
either they've created it or they've like infiltrated by the time it's popular, from Occupy to
Free Palestine, the Free
yeah.
Palestine movement, Black Lives Matter movement. We can go into all of these
but
things.
It's messy and it's nuanced, because all of those movements have got good people in them with positive intentions.
100%.
But they've also got infiltrators if they're not like false flag from the start.
That's the thing. We're assuming that these are just organic movements that were just a few people that just grew organically. These are backed by and I don't want to get into the whole thing, because we've had this debate going back years, in it. But there is big backing behind these things, and the backing always leads back to a political side. So you might have Labour backers, people that are backing, Labour donors for the Labour Party, and these sorts of people funding certain things. You might, on the other side, you might have Tory or Reform people funding other protests. So it always comes back to what political, drumming up support for whatever political party is going to get through. And there's not really anything that I can think of where it's like an organic movement that doesn't have a political undertone in the UK.
Well, so yeah, that's part of the part of my journey, especially with the mental health, has been trying to be honest with myself about what's going on in the world and not get apathetic, but not get like bogged down with depression at the same time.
Of course.
And watching, I've always been an outsider, but I've always allowed myself to become parts of movements if and when those movements felt aligned with my ideals.
Yes.
Whether that's anti-war movements or Druids or Buddhists. There've been, and then there's always times when the vibe is just off, and I'm like, okay, I'm not around anymore. I don't feel like I align with the core values of this crew anymore. And yeah, I've suffered from anxiety and depression a lot with it. But I'm triggered by the oil thing because part of my journey, like one of the first things to open my eyes was the war in Iraq.
Yeah.
I was always inspired by people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King since I was quite young. And I was into quite rebellious music, like Rage Against the Machine, early Ice Cube, and like political rappers. So I was already like quite educated on COINTELPRO and those sort of movements and that. But in my own lifetime, I witnessed how we had some of the biggest protests on the planet to stop the war in Iraq. The war in Iraq happened. The Chilcot inquiry made it quite official that we were deceived, and the end result was ExxonMobil had Iraq's oil, a corporation, made billions. Halliburton, Dick Cheney's vested interests made billions, and Bush, Blair, and Cheney are all walking free. I think Blair was working for J.P. Morgan for like around $1 million a year shortly after he was prime minister, conveniently. And I start getting just disillusioned because it's like we all know that this happened and there's no consequences for the people at the top. So even now with this Epstein thing going on, I'm honestly wondering, so how long before the general public gets bored? And right now there's 0 arrests for any customers of Ghislaine and Epstein.
Yeah,
exactly. Currently, there's just those 2 have been arrested.
Yeah.
And are we going to see anything else happen?
You know, to be honest, I personally haven't paid much mind to the Epstein thing, only because I see how long it's been dragging on for. Now, if it was something so, if it was something so sensational and so like, you need to see this, it would have been out. It's like there's a list. It's like, well, show us the list. Otherwise, I can only assume this is a big distraction to let others slip under the radar.
So many layers of cover up
to let others slip under the radar.
We're going to release it. They don't exist. There's no names on it. Oh, that we are going to release it. There are names on it. We're not going to address the fact that we've lied to you and told you it doesn't exist and that there's no names on it.
But a lot of the people I'm seeing talking about it, they're talking as if that when the list comes out, they're going to do something about it. Do you know what I mean? They're almost like, when the list comes, we're going to get them. And it's like, really and truly, like you said about the Iraq war, nothing's going to happen. You know what I mean? Nothing is really going to happen. Like, okay, you might have the court of public opinion, but nothing's really
yeah,
going to happen.
what are they going to do?
Mate, half of the people probably be dead. Do you know what I mean? The rest,
That's it.
everyone else has probably been fighting.
We don't know if Epstein's dead or disappeared.
Yeah.
Because with that much blackmail and that much money, it's 50-50, to be honest.
Yeah.
But we do know that the official story is not what happened.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
You know, I think it is a mad one. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, even if he did get murked, it's no big loss. Do you know what I mean? It ain't no big loss. I don't think we need to be trying to like look into the guards.
I was towing a line of controversy.
We need to just,
and you just macheted that.
Yeah, let's just delete all the CCTV. Let's just let that
one go. That sick.
Let that one. You know what it is though, because obviously, like, apparently that was done to silence him anyway. You know what I mean? That was done to silence him. So,
yeah.
And now all they got is this list, but this list is very questionable because I'm sure a lot of people are probably buying their way off the list.
That's it.
Yeah, a lot of people buying their way off the list.
Who knows? They said they released half of it, and so what we got was what they're willing to show us, and it was still bare redacted.
Yeah,
and they made sure there were black people on there.
Oh yeah, of course.
Standard procedure.
Even right now, Nova's just shared 4 minutes ago, and he shared and J.K. Rowling was involved in both. So it says Trump is named more times in the Epstein files than Harry Potter is named in all 7 books. So, well, and this is another thing for a lot of these Trump. Like, don't get me wrong, yeah, I ain't looked into it, like, you know, but from what I know, Trump and Epstein, like, I've got there's a picture of Epstein and Trump. They're friends. They were friends. You understand? So
they're buddies.
A lot of these Trump supporters that are like, "Oh, Trump's here to do this and do that," and a lot of, don't get me wrong, a lot of people in Bristol, yeah, were supporting Trump, yeah, certain individuals who have now been cut off, but
that's in my notes actually. I really want to have a go at the QAnon phenomenon, because the QAnon phenomenon derailed the truth movement so hard. It was one of the most successful psyops in history, in my humble opinion.
See,
because
I never saw that much QAnon stuff personally.
I saw plenty just prior to the whole COVID situation.
Okay.
And I think it did legitimize Trump to more people than people realized. And I think it helped Trump get elected a lot more than people realized, because they didn't just lie about conspiracy theories. They took actual conspiracy facts and true facts and just twisted them so that Trump was the hero and the Democrats were all the villains. So before, especially the first Trump election, a lot of people thought the Epstein files were just going to have Democrats in them, Democrats, and Hillary Clinton eating. I don't even want to get you demonetized, whatever. So vile things, basically, were said, but the story was, and the way they dropped it so cryptically and mystically was how, there's white hats in the military, and when Trump gets elected, they're gonna enact the storm and all the.
I remember that. They said drain the swamp and all that shit.
Yeah, exactly. He was going to drain the swamp. And come to find, a few years later, Trump and Epstein were buddies. Like, Trump was the swamp monster. He's not draining no swamp. He's like, he's creating the swamp.
I think a lot of people are aware of this. A lot of Trump supporters are actually aware of this. And you know, this is why this whole situation is so dodgy, because they've been aware of this, but they refuse to acknowledge Trump's connection with Epstein. As much as they want to bring Epstein down and everyone associated with him, they don't realize that Trump, your hero, he's also part of it. Do you know what I mean? So, and he's got his alibi for why he was there and whatever. But there's also quite a few cases against Trump as well. Do you see what I'm saying? So Trump's actually got quite a few cases against him that obviously he would publicly deny, I'm sure, but money was paid off to make it go away, sort of thing, innit? So
yeah, right.
You can look into that. That's something that's just public information. And I'm sure if you was a Trump supporter, you would have been aware of this. Do you know what I mean? But I'm sure if you are that much of a diehard Trump fan, you would either formulate an excuse for him, or you would just take his word for whatever his excuse was, whatever it was.
Part of the problem is humans are tribal, and humans are terrified of being kicked out the cave, basically. I think that my personal opinion is that's the instinctive fear that gets triggered, and that's why labels like conspiracy theorists are so powerful, because people don't want to get ridiculed and kicked outside the tribe. And then people identify with this tribe. So like you got people who are attached to being a Democrat, people who are attached to being a Republican. And hopefully the fact that both Democrats and Republicans are in these files will help shatter the illusion that they're all blackmailed by the same evil systems. And people will realize that this like attachment to Tory or Labour or Democrat, it's the whole system needs to be burnt to the ground and rebuilt from the ground up, basically, because like you can't keep choosing between douchebag and a poo sandwich. Like you eventually got to realize that, like, yeah, we're being played. Like they're all owned by the same corporations. And
I used to have this debate with Nova, because it would be like, I'm not supporting the government, yeah, and they would be like, well, the Labour isn't the government, it's the opposition, and it's like, yeah, but it's still the government. And it was just like, so I never got into any of that stuff, you know what I mean? A lot of my criticism that I get, it stems from the fact that I was telling people, like, I'm not voting, like, don't try to push your voting thing on me, I'm not doing it. They're like, come on, this is our chance. And it's like, no, I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. I do not have my faith in politics at all. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's part of my journey. That's relevant to my mental health journey and my journey with politics. Because I came to a similar conclusion quite early.
Yeah.
But every now and again, I would get hope. I would get hope that, oh, this politician might make the difference, or this. And each time my hopes were dashed, and I'd have to deal with depression again. And at this point, I'm a bit on the fence as far as literally just the subject of voting in general elections is concerned, because we don't have proportional representation. And I think that one of the main things you'd have to change to make politics more fair would be to change the electoral system so that the smaller parties have more power in government. But just by the nature of power, the people in power are never going to vote to give the people with less power more power.
Of course they won't. And that's the thing.
Exactly.
You know, that's the thing. You know, you'll have in like they've got that new party with Corbyn now. What's it called?
Your
party.
Yeah, that was part of Allow me to attempt to be a bit humble and just like list my losses as far as like I believed in Corbyn, and I believed he was a good person.
He is.
Good morals.
He is.
And I witnessed people I respected and thought were intelligent people, watch them get completely brainwashed by mainstream media and be like, well, Corbyn's got a messy front garden and they've shown him with a Russian hat on, so he must be owned by the Russian mafia. And
they said he was a
he's a
communist,
racist because he approved of some painting. And it's just like, he was like marching in anti-racism marches, like getting arrested and like, what? What? It's just watching how easily people got brainwashed.
But it was
depressing.
So that's what it is. This is democracy. So it doesn't matter. Like in democracy, you have a choice. So in democracy, you have a choice to make the wrong choice or the right choice. And at the end of the day, it's just showing you the British public, given the choice, that's what they're going to choose. And I'm not going to sit there and, like I said, I didn't vote for Jeremy Corbyn. I was not one of the people running around saying vote Labour or even telling anyone to vote, right? But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people voted for Boris Johnson. Yeah, within not even a year, a few months later, Boris Johnson had everyone under house arrest. You know, well, it wasn't him, but he was the spokesperson. You understand? So this is the irony of everything. This is what people vote for. And then after that, they hate Boris now. Then they bring someone else in, hate him, hate Keir Starmer. So a lot of this political opinion in the UK is just fueled strictly by hatred. So this is why I've never really been interested in it, because it's a lot of it is fueled by hatred, straight up fueled by hatred and anger. And the voice of people is, if we gave them the reins, they would be the first to drive this country into the ground. They'd be the first. They'd have a Greggs on every corner.
Yeah, and that's part of my motivation. Unfortunately, part of my motivation is thinking like, okay, a place like Nazi Germany, if I was in Nazi Germany before the Nazis took over, I like to think I would be one of the people trying to stop the Nazis from taking over. And I like to think that that by the time it becomes aware that, okay, we are being led by the wrong guys, we're the bad guys right now, I'd either want out of there or be done with it. And but I'm watching the entire planet move slowly towards fascism and running out of options of where to run to or what to do about it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, my whole thing is like, anyone who operates as a group, as part of a group, especially large groups, is, you know, eventually going to be led like lambs to a slaughter one way or another. Do you know what I mean? So I think the way the world is and the way human nature is that sometimes you got to be able to, you got to have the power to step back and step away and let others get involve themselves in the carnage, go to the protest, go and fight with the police, get your head smashed with a truncheon, get thrown in jail, get trampled by a police horse, get pepper sprayed, do you know what I mean? Or whatever else. You know, there's certain people who went over to the Middle East. Do you know what I mean? They felt compelled to go over to the Middle East and get involved with certain things out there. These people can never come back into the country or were killed over there. You see what I'm saying? And I think that if you are the sort of person who possesses the power of restraint, then you should exercise it, because it's easy. A lot of people cannot help but get swept away with the crowd. And that's what we learned during the lockdown with group behavior and people not wanting to be the odd one out, people getting vaccinated because they didn't want to be the odd one out, people not wanting to be shunned. Yeah, so this is a lot of what it's based on. So when you think like that, when you are that way inclined, there's nothing stopping you from being led like lambs to a slaughter. Do you know what I mean? Like lemmings, because you're just going to follow what this person's doing, and you're more concerned about fitting in and not being out of place than you are with your own life. And this is the facts, because we know how much people have, you know, and it's good that we can talk about these things on YouTube. Like we might get this, you know, we might get the fucking thing, it might get cancelled. Do you know what I mean? But at this point, it's no big news. You know, it's not. You know, I'm not making any big revelation by talking about all the vaccine injuries and deaths. It's no, you know, it's no big news. People know this already. It might be something people don't want to hear, because they may have took the vaccine, and I understand that, but at the same time, I was, and you was as well, telling these people not to do it from before. So, in that respect, I will continue to talk about it as I was talking about it before. And a lot of the time,
And yeah, to be fair, I never tell people what to do. So I never told people what to do, but I definitely planted seeds of doubt
100%.
throughout, like before, during, and after, gave people reasons to question corporations and politicians' honesty and motivations. And for that, I was ridiculed. And yeah, as part of like the whole journey thing, yeah, I will admit there were some elements of ego involved, because prior, like for a decade or so, prior to the whole COVID shit, I've been talking about various reasons not to trust corporations or politicians on Facebook and in my music and in my poetry, in my writings. And I felt like I was afforded respect, and I felt like I was afforded that I wouldn't be treated just like a ridiculous conspiracy theorist. And I was severely disappointed with both how brainwashed people were to just trust politician corporations outright, and how quick people I thought respected me were to ridicule me, insult me, and I try to have some empathy now. But to be fair, as much as I believe, like, I have a lot of empathy, which is my blessing and my curse, and it's allowed some people to take advantage of in the past. Like, I realize I have empathy. I have trouble empathizing with just normal people, like, because I've not trusted the government since I was quite young, and I've questioned authority figures since I was quite young, and I've known that the news can lie to me since I was quite young. So I find it hard to like get myself into the headspace of people who just take what they see on television at face value and just believe it because it came from the television. Do you know what I mean? I find it hard to. So since then I've tried to have more empathy and realize how, like, including me, we've all been brainwashed since we were kids. Like,
100%.
All of mainstream media is what they want us to see, what they want us to believe, whether it's about Africa and blah, blah, or all we see of Africa is starving children and we don't see happy people or whatever, or whether it's like all the superstars are blue-eyed Caucasian superstar and the other or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's what they want us to believe or what they want us to see, whether it's the news or mainstream movies, mainstream television or whatever.
Yeah.
I've gone off subject.
I got ranting. But what it was is a lot of people, the reason why they're like that, and you made a good point, it's because a lot of them from the generation where it was just TV. Remember, we're a bit younger, so we grew up in the generation of cable, early internet, you know what I mean? So, you know, DVDs, things, different sorts of media we had access to. Do you see what I'm saying? A lot of, you know, the prior generation, most of what they learned came from free channels. And in those days, those channels, because they'd be BBC, ITV, whatever, yeah, they're subject to certain laws as well. So you couldn't just go on there and make some crazy fake news article and just put it out there unless the government has said, "Oi, we're going to be doing this," you know, like this is, you know. But other than that, there's certain, you know, certain procedure that you have to go through to put in material on these platforms, these news platforms, especially back in the day. As time's gone on, we got cable, Sky, all these different things. And then when we got to the internet now, we can put whatever. Do you know what I mean? We can make videos about whatever, whether it's true or not. No one's got time to go and search everything and fucking fact check it all and that. You know what I mean? So this is the thing with the internet. You can now put out any kind of information. And because people are programmed to taking this information from the news like it's gospel, because remember, same like with the radio before, these people had to rely on these things at a time, like when it was like World War II and stuff like that. They had to rely on the radio for the warnings and to know what was going on. So a lot of the time, they were, you see what I'm saying? They've had to put their life into the hands of these things at some period in history. So it's easy for people to, especially I find with the older generation, it's easier for them to see something, especially if it's on the news, and be like, fucking hell, it's a panic, you know. And I saw a lot of people during the lockdown, and that's kind of why I've withdrawn from people ever since then. Ever since the lockdown, I've kind of just withdrawn from people. I've never really, like most of my friends will tell you, never really hung around with people since then, because I was just like, wow, I didn't know this about people. Do you know what I mean? I never knew this about people. Like I thought, yeah, some people were a bit, but I thought, most of us was pretty solid. But I realized actually, you know what? Most of us ain't that. So most of us, in fact, there's only a few of us that are solid. The majority, the vast majority, are completely crazy. And then they'll snap back into reality like nothing happened.
Right now. I'm not sure if it's because I'm running low on battery.
Is it your end or my end? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's what I'm trying to work out.
Sometimes it can be
Let me just.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Let me just make sure.
Sorry, people. This happens. These things happen, but it's all good. It's been a good stream so far. Like, let us know in the comments. Do we sound all right? Big up to Clean. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, there's two.
Do you know what?
Points I want to make before we finish.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, go on. Go, carry on. I was just testing the volume.
Yeah, there's 2 points I want to make before we go that are important to me.
Yeah.
I'll summarize them now, and I'll let you talk a bit, and I'll go into a bit more detail before we go. One is this concept called shadow politics.
Sorry, repeat that 1 second. Just kind of.
I want to.
Sorry, glitched a bit.
Shadow politics.
Shadow politics.
Shadow politics. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I got that.
To replace the conspiracy theory, where it entails just studying or researching real facts and real things that actually happened. Shadow politics. Now that we know for a fact that there are elements of politics that the mainstream media used to talk about, there are elements of politics that involve big backroom dealings and that lead to wars for oil that mainstream news still doesn't acknowledge. And now we know that they have some crazy sex parties where utter filth occurs. Now that we know that those things are actual facts, rather than dismissing things as conspiracy theories, call it shadow politics, where we're not talking about speculation on flat Earth or whether or not these people are reptiles or lizards, work for reptiles or lizards. Quite frankly, I don't care, because we know they are sick puppies, and that's enough. We know they're sick. We know that they'll start wars for money, and we know that they'll abuse people for fun, and that's enough. Yeah. That's enough. We don't, all the speculation and all the other conspiracy theories, you can argue about that in this. But what we know for a fact, we'd like to discuss and research more without being ridiculed for it.
Well, the thing is, I think the reason why
the discussion and research of shadow politics.
Well, the reason why people ridicule this stuff is because, like you said, a lot of it, all you got to do is study history. Do you know what I mean? Just go and study history. Go and study history of empires, and this sort of stuff has been happening.
That's another point, because everybody knows Henry VIII was chopping heads because he wanted to have sex with whoever he wanted to have sex with, and we act like, well, that was then. Kings would murder when they want, and the Mongol Vikings or the Romans would rape and pillage who they want. But that was then, and our leaders would never do such a thing now. And if you look at the facts, that conceit is elite, so-called elite, are just as nasty now, just as psychopathic now, and things like fox hunting teaches them to kill remorselessly at a young age. They still have these rituals where something dies and they're the winners. Nothing's changed. We are still peasants to them. They still rule by rule of or whatever they think it is that they rule by. So shadow politics, that's one. And two is solutions. Solutions like actual mental health reform, electoral reform, industrial reform, changing the way that we look at the nature of the mind, renewable energy reform, and universal basic income, and looking at things like gross national happiness rather than gross national product, because a country can make a lot of profit whilst the entire population's depressed. And police reform, which needs massive reform, because at least twice in my lifetime, the British police admitted that they have institutionalized racism, but they didn't say they were doing anything about it, which kind of just sounds like an advertisement for racists to join the police force. We have institutionalized racism here. Come join up. Like, you won't get in trouble for beating up black people.
I think now with the police,
anyway,
definitely. Yeah. Do you know what it is? Yeah, this has been a good one, and you know what? I want us to do another part 2 at some point, if possible, because I want to even go into like what you was doing out in Portugal and all sorts as well. So, you know what I mean? But this has been good, man.
Well, yeah, that's less important, but especially from the framework of where your podcast has been coming from, and just for therapy for myself, because I need to get a lot of this stuff off my chest. That part of the story, like, basically, the public's reaction to COVID was the last straw on a story of getting disillusioned and depressed. And then I left England. I basically abandoned modern Western society to be a hermit living on a mountain in the countryside. I was just like, I've had enough of telling people who not to trust, getting ridiculed for it, and then and having zero thanks for being right. Disappearing and making music in the hills. And since then, my mental health has gone through its ups and downs. But as horrific and depressing as the Epstein files have been, and some other revelations since, and some Netflix documentaries that vindicated a lot of things that I was saying. I don't know, write down The Great Hack on Netflix, just the way people have been. The Great Hack really revealed how a lot of people have been brainwashed by social media, and how a lot of fascism has infested people's minds via social media, and Steve Bannon telling people what to think. Basically, I've been vindicated, and as much as I've had anxiety and depression a lot in the past 5 years, a lot of the truth that's come out has just proven exactly what I've been saying to be true, and lit a fire up me. And I feel, part of me feels like I should have been hosting podcasts. I should have been more vocal in the past 5 years. I should have been just telling my truth more recently, but because I was depressed, I didn't want to show my face. And because I was going through my own stuff, like just personally, I didn't want to show my face. And I didn't feel confident to stand on what I was saying. Right now, I feel confident
100%
to stand on exactly what I've been saying.
Come on. So
it
you
is
went
machete o'clock.
Yeah, I hear that. It
is machete.
Yeah.
Man bun everything.
Yeah, come on.
Everything.
Come on.
No more holding back.
Yeah.
No more I'm being polite.
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah.
You want to you want man for chat now. You want man for chat now.
Oh, come on.
I've been waiting for confirmation.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for confirmation that these mans is who I've been saying they are.
Yeah.
I've been waiting.
Yeah.
Mark all of them, lyrically, verbally, not literally.
Yeah.
But all of them, man, for done. Like,
come on. That's what's up. And that's facts. And you know what? And that's the best time to come out. Because you save all your energy. You just sit on the mat. And remember, I was even saying, bruv. Yeah, you made a status, right? And I said, this sounds like it has been said from on top of a mountaintop. Yeah, that's what I said. I said, this actually sounds like it's been spoke from on top of a mountaintop. Yeah, and some things were said, you know what I mean? But like, it was real shit in it. It was the fire. It was the fire. Do you know what I mean?
That's the thing. Like, and another part of it is it's a spiritual journey, and the mental health journey has been part of a spiritual journey. But I've got to be honest. Like, I've got to speak my truth, and that's part of my spiritual journey and part of my spiritual purpose. And like, there's trivial things that people have tried to put on me, and trivial things that have happened in between. And I've had some ego issues I've had to wrestle with, and some low self-esteem issues that I've had to wrestle with. But the bottom line is that some of us have been fighting a holy war for longer than others have known that a holy war is being fought. And my inspiration is of a different kind.
I see, yeah.
And my purpose and reasons for doing what I do is on a different level.
Of course.
It's just the truth.
And that's evident. And that's the thing. That's what's evident. And that's what puts you in a league of your own. And this is why it's good to have you on the podcast, because, you know what I mean? Like I said, it ain't easy getting people on these podcasts either. It's not easy, because I don't stick to a schedule. I have no schedule. I mean, I have a chaotic life, yeah, and I have to just catch people when I can catch them. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean?
I hear you, fam.
But I think we should definitely get together on this again, man, like soon, and yeah, go deeper into this. Even like what you were doing out in Portugal, because obviously the off grid thing is a big part of, a lot of what I talk about, what I've experienced and stuff as well. So something that I've always been interested in. Do you know what I mean? The kind of like off the grid lifestyle, but without, you know how it is. It's not always as it seems, in it. So we want to,
Well, yeah, well, to full disclosure on that, I'm not living off grid. I've been involved in off grid programs while I'm out here, and I came out here expecting to either be living off grid in community or living with friends working as a live-in teacher, as that's one of my qualifications. But as it turns out, I've ended up living in a house.
Are you still over in Portugal then?
Right now, I'm in Portugal in my house.
Fair play. So you've been out there for a while, though.
Yeah, 5 years now.
Fair enough. That's crazy. So I'm saying that's good, though.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Everything changes, and there's a reason for it all. Do you know what I mean?
Come on, but don't worry, man. Hopefully, through doing these podcasts, we can find more ways to support what you're doing out in Portugal, bruv. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we can get some public participation, because I know you're a man with vision, innit? And I know how these
I have
things
so
go.
many visions, but I'm also learning I've got to keep some visions to myself until I've got the capital to actually implement them, because
keep them all to yourself.
Teeth your ideas.
Bro, keep them all to yourself.
Teeth your ideas.
Yeah, cool, bro. Keep them all to yourself. That's how you just get the money. At the end of the day, this man, when you know what it is, when you're a man with good ideas, yeah, people just need to give you the money. That's how it goes. So when you see Kev the Poet, you don't need to ask any questions. You don't need to ask what his idea is. Just give him the money. He'll make it. I know it's true though, isn't it? That's how I work.
You don't know. But having said that, I've had like financial ups and downs. But I'm gonna invest in a bad slave hat sooner rather than later.
I want to send one over, bro. I want to send some bits over to you anyway.
If you send one over, it's trade, because I'm working now. But I was willing to spend some money. That's my word.
Yeah. Nice. So it's calm, man. I'll send. Come on, man. I need to. You know what's crazy, man? Like when you think about Bad Slave, yeah, this was created around the time when we was in Bristol. Before, you see what I'm saying? That's when.
I was thinking about that today as well. I was thinking, because like this hat, a friend made this one. I don't generally just rock designer labels or nothing, but I like to rock like things that my friends make. But Bad Slave is a really good description of me. Like, so I'll be happy to vet that.
I made it when I made the brand. I made it with it embodied everybody around me. So it was you, a couple people in Bristol.
Cassius and little garden and that, and we recorded
a couple people. You know what I'm saying, the people that's kind of what it was embodying, isn't it? So that's kind of what it was.
That crew was saving my sanity during lockdown. No lie, like literally.
But you know
my friends stopped hugging each other, and my heart was broken. But yeah, that crew, Scar Yard, Scar House, big up yourselves.
Yeah, but you know what happened even with that, yeah. Again, infiltration.
Before you even said it, I knew.
Madness. And what I will say, without even going too deep, but the whole drugs thing, you know, a lot of people, they like the whole idea of being free and not being underneath the government and that, and having parties, and which is cool. But I think a lot of the drugs, it took things too far, and it opened my, and in a way, just that whole experience, being around that sort of people, it opened my eyes to the dangers of drugs. And then since then, I've been very active in deterring young people from drugs. There's a lot of addicts that I know here in Exeter, you can only try. Do you know what I mean? You can only try.
I did say in a Facebook comment that we might have to add it to the docket. We'll end it soon, but I'll touch on that one because it's personal to me, as well as like just it's come up synchronously today as well. Yeah. But yeah, drugs, like everything, is a double-edged sword. It can open the doors of perception, and it can be the first step towards the addiction that destroys your life. And there's an illusion that like this world of psychedelics is just all happy, hippie, colorful, positive vibes, but there's a dark side to it.
Very, very dark.
I watched too many bright-eyed teenagers come to Bristol with like light in their eyes, and like less than a year later, like there's just this darkness, and to pretend that that darkness doesn't exist is a fallacy. And
100%.
And there are things that I learned in ayahuasca ceremonies and things that I learned in ritual and ceremony, which helped me on my journey. But there's also things and doors that it opened that did not help me at all.
Okay.
And
so like spiritual gateways.
Yeah, and even just like my sensitivity and awareness is so open that I like the empathy that I feel can be overwhelming, and the it's literally impossible to put into words. The Tao that can be described is not the true Tao. Basically, the Tao that can be put into words is not the true Tao, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, all I can say about my personal journey is that there are positives and negatives to it. But from a social perspective, I feel like the negatives of that, this whole idea of like techno shamans and all that, like it's the dark side of that is corrupting, basically. And even specifically DMT, there's articles about AI tech billionaires taking DMT, and they're all being warned by the same entity, apparently, not to push things too far in certain directions. But it just goes to show that, like, just because you take a psychedelic doesn't make you a good person. Do you know what I mean?
I found I'll be honest with you. I found the majority of those people, the Glastonbury, Bristol people people that we know. I've personally, they might see this, who cares? But I found that at the core, a lot of them were not good people, and a lot of the time, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't even say it was down to the psychedelics as such, because I put that comment about DMT as a joke anyway. That isn't the problem.
Yeah, but it triggered me because
that wasn't even
but I'll be honest, some of my most powerful experiences and lessons were via spiritual journeys that were assisted by either microcosmic doses or macrocosmic doses.
Yeah.
But I would be lying if I didn't say I saw a dark side in both myself and in society.
Yeah, I used to do shrooms, you know what I mean, when I was younger. So that's kind of how I but what I found, like you said earlier, like taking substances can open your mind to certain perspectives and things like that. Yeah. So it can, especially if you're creative. But however, I still think that throughout my life, just because of the way my attitude towards, not that I took loads of drugs, but just my attitude towards being in the proximity of, you know, drug, just being around and just seeing it like a normal thing. I think it's quite a for me, it was an irresponsible stance to take. So I have to stress now, even when people see me, even I'm sitting here smoking a spliff. If kids say, "Oh yeah, you know, what's weed?" I tell them, "Don't smoke it." I'm not even going to tell them, "Oh, you know, it's okay." No, I'm telling them straight up, don't get into it. Do you know what I mean? So that's my thing. Anyone who's not, doesn't do drugs, drink, don't do it. Do you know what I mean? Don't look at me from what I'm doing and think, "Oh yeah, well he's doing it." It's like, nah, it's not cool. Because it was only when I kind of was around that sort of circle where I saw the damage that it was doing. And a lot of the time, like you said, if it was only DMT, ayahuasca, shrooms, it wouldn't be such an issue. Even if it was a bit of acid, you see what I'm saying? But what we found is a lot of ketamine, a lot of other things, you know, a lot of just, it got to the point where, and that's the thing, even with me, I've always been a weed smoker. And I got into mushrooms because I was never into taking anything else, because I weren't into like synthetic. But I took some shrooms because it's natural. So that, for me, that was the gateway, and then from there came other things. But I find that a lot of, you know, yeah, maybe some of them have gone, you know, via the magic mushroom route, but they've quickly ended up on hard drugs in Bristol. It's not even a psychedelics thing anymore. It's just a drug scene. And if it's not drugs, then it's booze, and it's just a general wreckhead scene. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, as much as, so yeah, I have to call it out. And that's why since then I've separated myself. I have not been seen anywhere around these people, because I was like, you know what it is? Even personally, everyone there is destroying themselves. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I'm any better, but they're doing it at a very rapid rate. And a lot of them don't seem like they got any kind of problem with it. And it's like, this is the sort of thing kids are seeing, younger generation is seeing and thinking, oh, they might be thinking it's cool. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, this is something you need to really stress to the younger generation, that these people are not cool. Do you know what I mean? So even the other day,
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know if
I agree wholeheartedly. I agree wholeheartedly. Let me add a bit of nuance to it.
yeah,
Just from my own perspective and my own journey. Specifically about Herb as well. Basically, I'll start with, basically, I agree with you wholeheartedly. As whatever my own relationship is to Herb and or magic mushrooms, I wouldn't tell any child or anybody who doesn't, grown person who doesn't do anything, don't
cool.
start. Don't start. I agree wholeheartedly. Now, having said that, I don't think that the modern Western society is healthy in general for people to live in concrete boxes, to work 5 days a week, to work nine to five. I don't think that the standard is healthy. And I think most people in that situation need some sort of antidepressant or some sort of assistance just to get through the week, whether it's
100%.
alcohol, a smoke, or whatever.
Caffeine.
I'm still not saying that you should do X, Y, or Z, but I am saying I understand why I, with my issues with anxiety and depression, have been doing what I've been doing and have done what I've done. And I understand why other people in whatever situations they have may make their decisions to choose. But I do think that, like, for whatever reason, we were put on this planet. Do you know what I mean? And we're not here to be in the ayahuasca realm or the stoned realm or the dream world. We're here to be in the real world and to experience the real world. And that's like why we're here. So like everything else to a certain extent is an escape or a medication for whatever you're going through. and whatever
Yeah.
your situation is. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's not the ideal. It's not I honestly believe the ideal is clear-headed, time for meditation and time for activation. Do you know what I mean? Like an active mind and a mind that you can switch off.
Yeah. I found in London, I was definitely more dependent on alcohol. I found alcohol was, as after a certain amount of time in the city, I would just, and even now I go back there sometimes. And
I don't think people realise how unnatural London is until they leave for a long time. Because I grew up in London, so it's just all normal to me.
of course,
Like going to school and seeing 200 strangers on your way, like, and school's like only like a few miles away, or going to work and seeing like 500 strangers on the tube before you get there, and like your brain, that just being normal for you.
yeah,
And it's like, it's actually not normal at all. And people wonder why London is so unfriendly and why like nobody talks to each other on the tube. It's because if you actually did, like, you would be like, hello, 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 hello. And these people you see on the same tube every morning. So you would feel obligated to say every morning.
Yeah, madness.
Like,
It'd be crazy.
it would actually be a madness.
Yeah,
Whereas like somewhere like Bristol or Manchester, maybe you can say hello to the guy you bump into. Like, so it wasn't till my brother went to uni in Manchester that I realised that, like, oh, strangers say hello to each other in pubs in other cities. Like, that's normal.
Yeah. Even around here, you get on the bus, you say hello to certain, hello, hello. He's walking down the dog, hello, hello. You know what I mean? Everyone's like,
but if you said hello to a stranger, I think it's better now, ironically, mainly because of loads of immigrants and loads of Spanish people and blah blah. I think Londoners find it easier to talk to each other now than they did before, because they've had so many immigrants. But now they want to kick them all out. Another story. We could talk. We will talk for hours if we keep this going. I'm gonna say. What time is it? Well, it's only been just over an hour.
I think so.
Did we start at 6:30?
I think we did. Yeah, I think this was the first one we actually started on time. So yeah, we done an hour. We done an hour, man.
Okay, yeah, that's not too bad. That's not. I thought we'd been going on for ages, and I thought, oh, maybe we should end this soon. But yeah, I'm happy to end this soon anyway. Yeah, I feel like I want to focus on some things, and then maybe between now and the next one, we can actually conversate.
Yeah.
And talk. Have an idea about what you want to get out of it, and what I want to get out of it. Because for me, this was partly just therapy for me, to be honest.
Yeah, but bro, it's been sick. Trust me.
Sick. But I also wanted to make it useful for other people. So yeah, before I go, there are definitely a couple of things I want to make sure I say.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, am I signing off soon?
Whenever, bro, it's up to you, man. You can say what you want to say, man. If you want, carry on. It's calm.
All right. I've got my notes up, so I just want to make sure I hit the points that I want to. So yeah, first things first, I want to recommend just some things to make sense of how we got where we are now, which evidently is ruled by some sick. So it's a documentary called The Corporation, which will teach you how psychopathic corporations can be. Confessions of an Economic Hitman, which will make sense of US and UK foreign policy and make you realize how organizations like the World Trade Organization and NATO and stuff aren't necessarily the moral high ground that we think they are, and might just be organizations that help imperialism continue.
100%.
And The Great Hack on Netflix, which The Great Hack, I don't know if it's still on Netflix because I wrote this list a while ago, but The Great Hack will teach you how easily the public is brainwashed.
Yeah.
And just those three will kind of open your eyes on a really basic, like, grounded level of, like, you cannot trust these corporations and politicians, like,
I, I, I don't know who
without
did you
any Alex Jones, without any
Yeah,
David Icke, without
yeah,
any, like, crazy conspiracy theories,
yeah,
just like with grounded research and knowledge, like,
yeah.
we can't trust these people.
Because there was a whole, if you think about it, going back from like Michael Moore, there was a whole
Mm.
line of celebrity conspiracy theorists that have just kind of led people, like, do you know what I mean? They've kind of just led
It's
people
been
somewhere.
going for a long time, from
Yeah,
Whitley Strieber's Pale Dark Horse to Jordan Maxwell to Michael Tazarian
yeah,
to
yeah,
there were a lot of people before Alex Jones, and
yeah, 100.
those of us who were reading Graham Hancock books before Netflix existed, before Joe Rogan was famous, those of us who were reading Graham Hancock books before anybody said the words ancient aliens in a board meeting, like, those of us who've had open minds about ancient civilizations, those of us who've had open minds about elite having crazy parties, or open minds about the elites starting wars for oil. Some of us are like, finally people are waking up, basically.
Mm.
And I'm not alone. That's the thing. It's not an ego thing. Like, I know this because other people knew this, and I was reading the same books as other people. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've been having these conversations in festivals and in squat parties and in squats for decades.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I wanted to hit, was like, yeah, advice for, like, how did we get here? Like, just watch some documentaries, and maybe next time I'll recommend some books. And yeah, what did I write? In 2024, I wrote this about summer 2020. Because by summer 2020, I realized that we were basically in what looked like the end game of the New World Order. And it was like, okay, everything's falling into place at the same time. We got a pandemic at the same time as these 15-minute cities, whatever those weird city things they wanted people to pay.
50-minute cities.
Yeah, to pay to be allowed in or out, and they were trying to get the chips in us, and it was okay. I'm either, because I can't vote Tory or Labour to change this, I'm either going to start my own political party, or I'm going to leave the country. And so in summer 2020, I co-wrote a petition for 8 fundamental changes to British politics, economics and industry to improve the mental health and general wellness of the population. I did finish it and submit it. The House of Lords dismissed it with a response that I interpreted as them pretending not to understand, because accepting that the current system is amoral and illogical in many ways either caused cognitive dissonance they could not accept, or would affect their personal finances in ways they would not accept. Rather than continue to pursue that route, or get directly involved with British politics in the midst of COVID and Brexit, I emigrated and moved closer to nature and more sunshine for my own mental health. Since then, Brexit was a disaster. Most of what I predicted or suspected about COVID was true, and right now there are race riots in England. That was summer 2020. I do not regret my decision, but for the sake of positivity, out of my own interest, and just for what it's worth, I asked ChatGPT to analyze my 8 proposals, add supportive documentation from peer-reviewed science and statistics, and to give advice on how best to implement them, and this was the result. Certainly, here's an analysis that includes point 2 on electoral reform, structured by stages for each of the proposals. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Stage 1, effectiveness and challenges. 1, mental health reform. Effectiveness, addressing the root causes of mental health issues by focusing on therapy, nature exposure, and improved diet could lead to significant improvements in mental health and overall well-being. Challenges, implementing systemic changes in mental health care requires substantial investment and a shift in policy priorities. There is resistance due to entrenched interest in maintaining the status quo and the need for widespread retraining of healthcare providers. That's how in-depth it went. I'm not going to go in depth into all 8 points, but I'm going to say all 8 points. 2, electoral reform. Electoral reform, such as adopting proportional representation. 3, industrial reform, hemp. Utilizing hemp as replacement for oil-based products can potentially reduce carbon emissions, provide biodegradable alternatives, and create jobs in a new industry. 4, secular spiritual reform or education in the nature of the mind. Integrating scientifically supported spiritual practices like meditation and mindfulness into education can improve mental health, emotional regulation, and overall well-being amongst the civilization. 5, energy reform, renewable energy. Transitioning to renewable energy sources can significantly reduce environmental pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, contributing to global sustainability and public health. 6, universal basic income. That's a big subject. I'd rather talk about that more in depth in its own subject.
Yeah,
I'm,
no problem.
I'm on the fence about that.
Yeah,
7,
okay, yeah, we'll
gross national happiness. Focusing on gross national happiness can promote policies aimed at enhancing overall well-being and life satisfaction, potentially leading to more holistic and humane governance. 8, police reform. Reforming psychological testing and recruitment processes can help address issues of institutionalized racism and improve the quality of police officers, potentially leading to more equitable and effective policing. Okay, so yeah, those were the 8 ways in which you would need, for me, you would need to change British politics and basically British life to make everybody's lives better, in my humble opinion.
And it's interesting what you said about focusing on gross happiness, because actually what they found is that when you have a happy population, you have a more productive population anyway. But I think in the UK, it's got to the point where, you know, they can get enough money out of the people, keeping them how they are. The UK is not a very happy country, definitely not at the moment. I don't know how it is in Portugal, but the UK, you know, people are focused on, I guess, individual happiness or the pursuit of individual happiness, but there's not really, I don't know, it doesn't really seem like that.
The honest truth is yin and yang, man. Like, there's positives and negatives and everything, whether it's psychedelics, Portugal, emigrating, there are positives and negatives and everything. I know what I need, and I needed more nature, and I needed to be removed from quote unquote modern Western society for a bit. That's what I needed for me. So for me, it's been good. But yeah, to be honest, there's a level of ignorance I have regarding Portuguese politics, to be honest.
Of course.
And so I'm sure they have their issues. I know that worldwide, including Portugal, there have been like fascism's been rising, and like fringe parties have been rising everywhere from France to Portugal to England and this, that, and the other. But I also know what how expensive eggs have been getting in England, basically. So yeah, I've no regrets.
Isn't Portugal a very, as you'd say, diverse country though?
Especially right now, because land is so cheap. A lot of people have been buying land right now, and I don't know how happy the Portuguese are about it, to be honest. But there's people from all over, a lot of Europeans from England, Germany, Italians, a lot of Israelis are moving here. There's a lot of people. It's becoming a very international country.
How much is like an acre of land out there, average?
I couldn't tell you how much an acre is, but I could tell you anecdotally that there was a plot of land this is how I landed here to a certain extent. This is like part of my story. There was a plot of land here that was 11 grand, and it didn't have a proper house. It had just like a ruin on it that had no roof. But this woman who lived there, so somebody was already living there. She had like a little gas kitchen set up, and like I think it was like a bell tent inside her like little like stone ruin. But she had an epic garden, and the view was like every sunset was over the mountains, and quite frequently there'd just be pink sunsets over mountains. And this land was 11 grand in 2020, 2019. Yeah, 2020.
That included the house.
And that included the house and the garden she'd already made amazing. Like there were like different plants that you could eat, as well as like beautiful flowers. And that was when I was like, maybe living in Portugal and actually owning a spot isn't as impossible as I thought, because I'd grown up in England and I'd been a poet and MC most of my life, and had never earned enough to look like I would be buying a mortgage in England. So the idea of owning land, owning my house, had left me like years prior to that. It was the first time in my, possibly like in my life, or at least in like post middle age, I was like, oh, maybe I could own something. That'd be weird. Yeah.
Fair enough, though.
All part of the story. All part of the story. I ended up not getting it, but I ended up getting something else.
Come on, that's what I'm saying. So, you know what I mean? It's all progression, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're all learning. We're all learning.
That's it,
man.
And
and as much as part of this whole broadcast is Kev's "I told you so" to the world, like, I'm still learning. I wasn't right about everything, and I've not been right about everything, and I won't be right about everything. But that I try to come from a place of humility and open-mindedness. Come with me on this journey to expose and explore shadow politics.
Come on. Yeah, no, we're definitely going to delve deeper into all that as well, man.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
I feel grateful for being given the platform, by the way, Teresa. Oh yeah, no, you know what? Before I go, I want to talk about just a vibe as well, because this is just part of who I am. Right? Like, you could be bowling through the streets of Camden, and a brother can come up to you with a CD, and I could have pared off X amount of man who've tried to sell me a CD in the street. But you have to trust your intuition sometimes. And when a brother comes to you and it's like, he just feels blessed. I like his energy. Like, I didn't know. I would be lying if I said I knew that years later, me and this brother would make a tune together.
In
a random house in Bristol, or me and this brother would be doing a podcast like 15, maybe 20 years later together. But my heart said, no, I like this guy's energy. I'm gonna buy this CD, and it was really good.
Thank you.
It was really good. So yeah, X amount of love to Terra Slim for giving me an opportunity to just speak my piece.
Yeah, no, it's
X amount of love to the Synchro Flow for weaving our paths to cross a few times. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. Literally. That's the thing. There's many points where our paths cross. Yeah, do you get me? Like even in the farm, because remember you was meant to move to the farm.
I nearly moved. You know what?
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna sing my own praises. I promised I was gonna move to that farm.
I remember.
It was the end of it was like the end of the first year of COVID, and I'd had enough, and I was going to either move to that farm or leave the country. And then at the last moment, a friend in Portugal was like, had a job for me in Portugal. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm moving to Portugal. And the friend I promised to move in, she had a room for me in England. And even though I think most of this money was welfare, I paid for a month's rent because my word is my bond. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm different. Like, I said I would do something, so I did it. Do you know what I mean? I'm different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. To be honest, it was a good place to live. It was a nice place to live. You know what I mean? Like, but it just went a bit mad towards the end. Well, actually,
these things happen. That's the problem with all these communities. Like most of them, they've got their upsides and downsides, and we're all human. And people go there with their addictions and their self-esteem issues and their narcissistic bullying, and everybody thinks they're on a raw food community, or they think they're on a no electricity community, or they think that, but they're in a place where meth heads are running away, or they're in a place where people who are running away from marriages, or they're like these places that they all attract outsiders for whatever reason. And sometimes
they attract society's rejects. They attract the kids that have been, the kids that.
And I'm not judging, because I am one of society's rejects.
I'm not judging either. I'm not judging either. But what I will say is that when you get these opportunities, like we're smart enough to know that when the opportunity arises, we have to be on point. And if we've got people with us that aren't on point, they're inevitably going to destroy whatever it is you're trying to do. So
which is why a lot of us end up being hermits, or do you know what I mean? Like Lone Rangers, because we know about COINTELPRO, we know about spy cops, we know about infiltrators, so we keep our third eyes open.
Yeah, now I'll put it this way, I remember at the farm one day walked in and there was a packet of them tests, COVID tests on the table on the kitchen counter, just being left there boldly, like, these fucking things.
I honestly never saw one. I never saw a COVID test.
No, they brought them into our kitchen. They brought them into our kitchen, had the COVID test on the kitchen, like madness. Left masks in my car, like crazy stuff. And what it was the whole time, right? I had thought that all the people involved with the farm, I had thought that they were all like anti-lockdown, anti-vax, this, that, and the other. What I found out towards the end was most of them was pro-vaxxers. You know what I mean? They were either pro-vaxxers or they were very, very. They might not have got the jab, but they were very, very. I don't know. Maybe it's due to like
Bristol. We all found out who was rebels and who wasn't. Like,
and it was not really any.
We all found out who the bad slaves were, and it wasn't as many as we thought.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, that's exactly that. And then ever since then, I've spent my time trying to detach my. You know what I mean? I've never, distance myself from these people because I wouldn't want.
And I've still got love for vaccinated people. I've got nothing. I've got and get shedded on or whatever.
I've got the way I look at it.
Because I have empathy. I have empathy, and I realise we've all been brainwashed since we were kids. All of us. And the fix was in. They properly like guilt tripped people. Like, you are a granny killer if you do X, Y, and Z. You are responsible for X, Y, and Z's. They were pushing the guilt trip on people, and turned a lot of people I thought were rebellious activists into snitches.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. 100%.
But I'm trying not to focus on the negative. for the sake of my own mental health.
No,
So,
and big up, because that's what I've been doing since I started this podcast. I thought I could have made it into a thing where I'm just crashing out, but I'm like, you know what? I don't even wanna. It's not even that. It's not that year. 2026 ain't the year for that. Do you know what I mean?
No. It's I like to call it machete o'clock, because it's like, it's not crashing out. I'm not just shouting and swearing. I am chopping down the lies and stating the facts. Like, it's machete o'clock, and yeah.
All right, man. Might as well wrap this up.
Yeah, word.
Yeah, man. But thank you.
Do you remember Elijah and his chariot of flame? Send blood that goes to my brains. That's it. Man gone. Love.
Come on. Yes, big up. Thank you for this appearance, man. This is one of my favorites. Oh shit. It's just fucking ended. No, we're still streaming. We're still there. Yeah, man. Big up to Kev the Poet. Check him out. He's been doing his thing for a long time. Absolute legend in the game and in real life. And yeah, we're gonna see more of it.